After elaborating on the ideas of the classical liberal thinkers, let's narrow down the ideas of the strongest opponent, Karl Marx. Karl Marx, a 19th century philosopher, economist and revolutionary socialist, developed, in close collaboration with his friend Friedrich Engels, a comprehensive critique of capitalism and outlined his ideas in works such as the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. Central to Marx's thought is the concept of class struggle, which is the conflict between the bourgeoisie, the capitalist class, and the proletariat, the working class. Here are some key ideas and how they are intertwined. As a starting point, we look at the historical materialism. What is the concept of historical materialism? Historical materialism is Marx's theory that material conditions, particular the modes of production as the economic base, determine the structure and development of society. The superstructure, which includes politics, culture, and ideology, among others. According to Marx, history is driven by the material interests and struggles between different classes. This idea underpins Marx's entire analysis of society and history, providing the foundation for understanding class struggle and the development of capitalism. Historical materialism posits that societal changes occur through the conflict between the opposing economic classes, leading to the evolution of modes of production. For example, feudalism to capitalism. This conflict between opposing economic classes is leading to class struggle. Marx believed that history is the history of class struggles. In every society, the ruling class controls the means of production and exploits the working class. In capitalism, this manifests as the bourgeoisie, the capitalists, exploiting the proletariat, the workers. The struggle between these classes drives social change. To reiterate, class struggle is a direct outcome of historical materialism as the material interests of different classes conflict, leading to societal transformations. The idea of class struggle reinforces Marx's critique of capitalism as the exploitation inherent in the system leads to increasing tensions, and this brings us to the theory of surplus. The theory of surplus value is central to Marx's critique of capitalism. It explains how capitalists generate profit by exploiting workers. According to Marx, the value of a commodity is determined by the labor required to produce it. However, workers are paid less than the value they create, with the difference, the so-called surplus value, being appropriated by capitalists as profit. Referring to the previously introduced concepts and the interconnection, surplus value is the mechanism through which the bourgeoisie exploits the proletariat, driving the class struggle. This theory links directly to Marx's analysis of capitalism's inherent contradictions, as the pursuit of surplus value leads to economic crisis and social instability. Therefore, the surplus on the one hand leads to alienation on the other hand. Marx's concept of alienation describes how workers in a capitalist society become disconnected from the products of their labor, the labor process, their fellow workers, and their own human potential. Workers do not control the means of production or the goods they produce, leading to a loss of autonomy and fulfillment. Alienation is a consequence of the capitalist mode of production, where workers are reduced to mere instruments in the production process. This idea is intertwined with the surplus value, as the extraction of surplus value from workers' labor intensifies their alienation. Alienation fuels class consciousness, leading workers to recognize their exploitation and potentially to revolt against the system. By taking into account this setting, we can observe capital accumulation. Marx argued that capitalism is inherently prone to crisis due to the contradictions within the system. The drive for profit leads to overproduction, underconsumption, and falling rates of profit, resulting in economic crisis. Capital accumulation tends to concentrate wealth in fewer hands, exacerbating social inequalities and economic instability. The crisis theory is a direct consequence of surplus value and capital accumulation. As capitalists seek to maximize profit, they inadvertently create conditions that lead to economic downturns. These crises are not just economic but also social, as they heighten class conflict and may pave the way for revolutionary change. The theory reinforces the idea that capitalism is unsustainable in the long run, and its internal contradictions will eventually lead to its downfall. What is the final outcome? Marx believed that the proletariat would eventually overthrow the bourgeoisie and establish a dictatorship of the proletariat. This is a transitional state in which the working class holds political power and dismantles the structures of capitalism, paving the way for a classless, stateless society. Or you can call it communism. The dictatorship of the proletariat is the culmination of class struggle, representing the overthrow of the bourgeoisie and the end of capitalist exploitation. It is connected to the idea of historical materialism, as it represents the next stage in the evolution of society, moving from capitalism to socialism and finally to communism. This idea reinforces Marx's vision of a future society free from the contradictions and crises of capitalism, where alienation and exploitation are abolished. How is this state of affairs materializing? Communism for Marx is the final stage of human development, characterized by the abolition of private property, class distinctions and the state. In a communist society, the means of production are collectively owned and goods are distributed according to need. This leads to the full realization of human potential and the end of alienation. Communism is the end goal of the proletariat's struggle, where the contradictions of capitalism are resolved and true freedom is achieved. To reiterate, the idea of communism ties back to historical materialism, as it represents the final stage in the dialectical process of history. It reinforces Marx's critique of capitalism by providing a vision of an alternative society where exploitation, alienation and class struggle no longer exists. Together, these ideas create a coherent theory that not only critiques the existing capitalist system but also offers a revolutionary pathway toward a classless society. Marx's ideas continue to influence economic, political and social thought, shaping debates about capitalism, socialism and the nature of social justice. In hindsight, and especially from nowadays point of view, the political aspect of totalitarianism should be also considered here, and I'm pretty sure you can put the aforementioned therefore also into context.